Right now on IUSTV News, an IU alumna among the victims on board a plane that crashed in the nation's capital. The university remembering and reflecting on her time at IU, and the latest on the investigation into the crash.
Plus, tariffs on hold. Why President Trump is delaying the proposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And why the tariff on China remains in place.
And Bloomington police investigate 2 different shooting calls over the weekend, while we know about both incidents, including an arrest.
And after weeks of below freezing temperatures, we are getting somewhat of a reprieve from that. I'll tell you all about that and more on today's weather.
The investigation continues into what caused a mid-air collision between a passenger jet and U.S. military helicopter in Washington, D.C. 64 people on board that plane and 3 on the board the helicopter are presumed dead. An IU alum was among the victims. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pareese Payton.
And I'm Charlie Herman. You're watching IUSTV News. The father-in-law of 26-year-old Asra Hussein confirmed his daughter-in-law was returning home from a trip to Kansas.
Tonight, our Sydney Moore talked with an IU professor who shares his memories of the young woman. Sydney.
Yes, it's just a heartbreaking story. I sat down with Paul Helmke, the director of Civic Leaders Center, who tells me Asra Hussein was a bright light for the community during her time at IU. She never failed to have a smile on her face and was a life taken too soon.
Hold those that you love close.
A lesson many of us were reminded of when the plane crashed into the Potomac River on January 29th.
Everything, was going great for her, and, then all of a sudden tragedy.
IU alum Asra Hussein, time cut too short.
She was doing so much and had so much potential to do more, and that's what really rips my heart out.
Hardworking, bright, and always smiling. All ways those close to Hussein describe her.
Everyone can make a difference, and even though Asra's life was cut way too short, she was making a difference.
Professor Helmke got the call Thursday morning.
We're hearing rumors, or at least reports, that Asra had been on that plane, and seen a social media clip of a young man who had gotten a text from his wife about 20 minutes before the landing, and I'd seen that before. I didn't realize that was Asra's husband.
During her time at IU, she was involved in civic leadership in the Muslim Student Association.
You look at the pictures, you look at the old emails, and you see the smile, and you see how, just the camaraderie with her and the rest of the students, and it's not easy.
Hussein will continue to be remembered by her positive impact on those around her.
Give a hug to the people you love, and stay in touch with your friends. You never know what's going to happen next.
Hussein's father-in-law shared a post on Facebook saying, quote, "If you want to honor Asra, be kind to one another. Stop the madness, smile, take care of others. That is what she would want," end quote. In studio, Sydney Moore, IUSTV News.
Sydney, thank you. The family held services for Hussein over the weekend. They also thanked the community for the outpouring of support.
Now, to the latest on the ongoing tariff talks. Today, the Trump administration is pushing forward on tariffs against China.
China is hitting back on the tariffs, and the back and forth between the world's 2 largest economies could put the American consumer in the middle.
Karen Kafa is in Washington with what consumers need to know today.
The day after Mexico and Canada negotiated respective 30-day pauses on President Donald Trump's proposed 25% tariffs on their goods coming into the U.S.
We've found a good, accommodation here, and we're going to be showing progress over the next 30 days.
Trump's 10% tariff on all goods coming to the U.S. from China took effect after midnight on Tuesday, and Beijing pushed back with tariffs on some U.S. energy and metals imports. The moves elevating trade tensions between the world's 2 largest economies. And eventually, the American consumer could get caught in the middle.
I think it's a lose-lose. It's just a question of how big the loss. It raises prices, raises inflation, and Of course, we've been through a very wrenching period globally with high inflation. It's been a real problem.
Among items that could see higher prices, consumer electronics like phones, TVs, and computers, toys, jewelry, silverware, and sporting equipment, and shoes and sneakers imported in large numbers from China. The real impact will be felt once businesses deplete their current warehouse stock and need to bring in more, unless the U.S. and China strike a deal soon. Democrats note that tariffs don't align with the economic relief Trump promised in his 2024 campaign.
Tariffs will undoubtedly drive up costs. You shared some of those numbers earlier, and people are living paycheck to paycheck. This is the opposite of what Trump ran on and what the American people want.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
We will continue to cover the latest on what could be a larger trade war. You can stay up to date by visiting the national news section on our website, IUSTV.com.
In other Trump administration news, the Department of Education could soon face elimination. The Trump administration has started a draft of an executive order that could eventually get rid of the DOE. President Donald Trump is also expected to urge Congress to pass legislation that would shutter the department. This isn't the first time the U.S. has tried to abolish the department or merge it with another agency. Previous attempts have failed to get backing from Congress.
All right, let's turn to weather because Monday was so warm and gorgeous outside, and now it's cold out there again.
Yeah, Carson, it's been a tale of 2 days, really, and I'm curious to see what the rest of the week holds for us.
Well, yes, it was beautiful yesterday, and it's a little bit colder today, but I will take this weather over what we were having last week, which was sub-zero temperatures in some cases. Now, as you can see today, most of south central Indiana is running around the same temperature. In Bloomington, around 46 degrees, 48 in Bloomfield, and down in Washington, about 49. So it's all pretty similar across south central Indiana. Now, as far as overnight temperatures go, around 9 p.m., we're going to be seeing temperatures of around 36 degrees, and then by midnight, we're going to be down to 33, and then we're going to bottom out around 3 a.m. At 32, and we're going to have clear skies throughout the night, and we're going to stay at that temperature of 32 if you are a morning dog walker. Pretty much all morning tomorrow, it's going to be 32 degrees with cloudy skies throughout. Now, coming up, I'll tell you about the chance of some cooler weather and some high rain chances, along with the potential for a warmer weekend. But for now, guys, back to you at the desk.
All right, Carson, thank you. Bloomington police are investigating after a 14-year-old boy was found shot in the leg over the weekend. We're told it happened Sunday in the Crestmont neighborhood. Police said the teen reported it happened while he was asleep on a bench, but later said the shooting happened at an apartment in the area. No other information on the shooting was immediately available. Another shooting happened Friday night. Police responded to an apartment building on South Walnut Street around 7:15. We're told a 30-year-old man was found with a gunshot wound to his hand. Police said the man reported it happened while he was trying to unload a friend's handgun. A later search warrant on the apartment ended in arrest of another man who was charged with a felony possession of a handgun without a license.
The IU chapter of Sigma Delta Tau sorority is on cease and desist for hazing. The chapter will suspend all activities while the university investigates. An IU spokesperson did not share any details about the allegation, but said the investigation is ongoing.
Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita is once again facing charges from the state's disciplinary board. Rokita is accused of lying to the state court and making contradicting statements after a settlement in his last disciplinary case. Rokita, who admitted to the board of violated parts of Indiana's professional code, is accused of denying guilt when he released a press release right after. Rokita issued a statement after the new set of charges, calling it an attempt to take away voters' voices.
A Bloomington woman was handed an 18-year sentence for her involvement in the child sex trafficking case from last year. 22-year-old Naomi Florin will only serve roughly 15 years of that sentence. Florin pleaded guilty Friday to promoting child sex trafficking and child molesting. The 8 other charges she faced were dismissed. Florin was given credit for the 167 days she spent in jail awaiting her case to come to an end. She must immediately register as a violent sex offender after her release from prison.
Duke Energy has been given the green light for its requested rate hike. The State Regulatory Commission said Duke is allowed to raise its rates for customers, but lowered how much the company can increase it by. The company requested $492 million, but will only be allowed to total out $395 million. It's not immediately clear how much the new increase will affect monthly bills.
Republican state lawmakers want to cut that number of early voting days in the state in half. Right now, Hoosiers can vote 28 days before Election Day. Senate Bill 284 lowers that to 14. The bill's authors originally asked for 7, but amendments were added in committee. In the most recent election, 32% of Monroe County voters voted early, with more than 30,000 casting their ballots before Election Day. That number outpaced both 2020 and 2016 numbers. The Indiana Senate passed a bill that would give grant money to local sheriff's offices who sign working agreements with ICE. Senate Bill 430 passed with a 39-9 vote. Bloomington Senator Shelley Yoder voted no. It now heads to the General Assembly. A similar bill is moving through the Indiana House that would make the requirements an agreement.
Norovirus cases continue to climb, and now the numbers are going up here at IU. Still ahead, what tips the Student Health Center is sharing to help slow down the spread.
Plus, it was the hottest night in music, but the viewership numbers are not matching up. Why this year's Grammy Awards might have brought in a smaller audience. But first...
but it really is important that we activate Kirkwood and get a lot more people out in the community.
The annual Kirkwood closure is making a comeback, but some on City Council want it to be permanent. Not all residents are on board with the idea. We'll tell you why when we come back. You can expect outdoor dining and community gatherings on Kirkwood Avenue this spring. The city is once again closing part of the street to pedestrian-only traffic.
But some are pushing for it to become a permanent fixture, transforming the road into a pedestrian area. Tegan Emerson is here with more.
The Bloomington City Council recently voted to close up to 5 blocks of Kirkwood Avenue to vehicle traffic for several months each year to create a community space. City Council members held a listening session to get input from the public.
The ordinance passed by the council would close some or all of the blocks to traffic between Walnut Street and Indiana Avenue from spring until fall.
But it really is important that we activate Kirkwood and get a lot more people out in the community.
The exact dates in which blocks will be closed will be determined each year, depending on construction projects and other concerns.
Since we're closing Kirkwood, how can we create a street and really like a staple of Bloomington that works for the maximum amount of people possible?
Council member Sydney Zulik says listening to what the community needs is key to making the project work for everyone.
My understanding is that the business community is split pretty 50-50. A lot of the businesses on Kirkwood benefit majorly, but there are a lot of businesses that aren't on Kirkwood or that are on side streets of Kirkwood that don't benefit in the same way.
More than a dozen people showed up to Monday's meeting to share their thoughts and concerns about the project.
What I have heard back from all of our groups at Station 1 is that any kind of closure will end up affecting our response time.
I'm not against the idea of a pedestrian mall. I think it's great. I just hate to say it. I don't want it in front of my business.
Continue to get input on other long-term changes that will be decided on at future meetings. The Board of Public Works will vote next week to decide which blocks will be closed this year.
Since the semester started, norovirus cases have been rising on campus. Norovirus is a highly contagious viral infection, and symptoms can appear anywhere from 12 to 48 hours after exposure. They usually last between 1 and 3 days. To stay healthy, Nurse Tidwell at the Student Health Center recommends staying hydrated, cleaning all surfaces, and washing your hands regularly.
When people hear norovirus, they sometimes call it also the stomach flu. It is not true flu. However, it is a viral infection. What that means for you is that viruses don't respond to antibiotics.
Even if symptoms fade, keep up with good hygiene.
The rise in cases on the IU campus comes as IU Health is taking precautions against rising respiratory illness cases. The company's Bloomington Hospital is operating under visitor restrictions. All visitors have to be 18 or older and be free of respiratory symptoms. Some parts of the hospital may have stricter guidelines than others. The company says the restrictions will stay in place until the number of respiratory cases goes down.
The Grammys may be music's biggest night, but Sunday night wasn't the award ceremony's biggest showing. Viewership was down 9% compared to last year. Sunday's Grammy Awards drew 15.4 million people. In 2024, it was nearly 17 million. This year's decline breaks a 3-year strike during which viewership steadily increased. The award ceremony is still positioned to be one of the most watched entertainment shows of 2025.
Spotify reported its first full year of profitability since its founding nearly 20 years ago. The Swedish audio streamer reported a profit of nearly $1.2 billion for 2024. It is also reported monthly active users jumped 12% for the fourth quarter, the highest fourth quarter increase in its history. Last year, the tech giant raised subscription prices for many parts of the world to help boost revenue. Spotify was founded in 2006 and went public in 2018.
United Healthcare has agreed to pay a $2.5 million settlement. It comes after a classic action lawsuit claimed the insurance company violated federal law by making unauthorized telemarketing calls. United Healthcare was accused of using pre-recorded messages to make those calls. The settlement affects more than 12,000 people. Claims can be made online and must be submitted by April 15th. A court is expected to grant the final approval for the settlement on June 20th.
Former President Joe Biden has signed with the Hollywood talent agency Creative Artists Agency. He was a client at the agency from 2017 to 2020, in between his 8-year term as vice president and taking office as president. The agency says it is honored to partner with him again. The co-chair of CAA praised the former president for his decades of public service, optimism, and dignity. When Biden was with CAA before, he published his memoir, Promise Me Dad, and launched a nationwide tour to talk about the book. Biden's former boss, former President Barack Obama, also is represented at CAA.
Lung cancer screening is effective and it can save lives.
Still to come on IUSTV News, it's World Cancer Day and lung cancer ranks near the top. Who should get screened for the disease and when? Find out in today's Health Minute.
Plus, a new study shows we may have microplastics in our brain and not even know it. Why experts say it might not be as alarming as you may think.
Hey, listen, I don't know much about microplastics, but I do know about microtemperatures, and I will tell you all about them on the other side of the break.
Today is World Cancer Day, and lung cancer is the leading cause of all cancer deaths.
While early detection can save lives, experts say many of those eligible for screening don't get tested. Mandy Gaither explains who should be screened in today's Health Minute.
For months, Denise Lee passed a billboard that caught her eye. It said, "Saved by the Scan," advocating for people to be screened for lung cancer.
I smoked for 40 years, and so I consider myself high risk.
Lee says she didn't know about low-dose CT scans, a simple x-ray that takes multiple pictures of the lungs with little radiation. It takes only a few minutes, and there's no pain. After advocating for herself at the doctor, she was screened.
My primary care physician called me, and she said, yeah, they found a spot. actually a tumor.
It was cancer, but Lee says because of the screening, the disease was caught early before it spread.
I always say that the billboard saved my life because literally that's what happened.
The American Lung Association says low-dose CT scans can reduce the lung cancer death rate by up to 20%, but only about 16% of those eligible for it in 2022 actually got tested. Anyone between the ages of 50 and 80 who smokes now or has quit within the past 15 years and has a 20-pack year or more smoking history should be screened.
You multiply the number of packs per year by the number of years you smoke. So 1 pack per day times 20 years is 20 pack years.
Dr. Bobby Mahajan says in recent years, the 5-year lung cancer survival rate has improved, but the earlier the disease is detected, the chances of survival significantly increase.
Lung cancer screening is effective and it can save lives.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A new study found human brain samples contain small amounts of nanoplastics. Researchers studied human brain samples from autopsies last year and in 2016. They found the 2024 brains contained about 50% more microplastics than the ones from 8 years before. Scientists determined plastics are associated with harms to human health at every single stage of the plastic life cycle. One expert said finding plastic deposits does not necessarily mean they cause damage. It's unclear if the plastics enter and leave the brain or collect there and cause disease. Experts recommend taking steps to reduce your exposure to plastics.
The FDA has updated a recent broccoli recall to its most serious category. It comes after Braga Fresh issued a recall in late December for its ready-to-eat 12-ounce bags of broccoli because of a listeria contamination. Late last month, the FDA upgraded the recall to a Class 1, meaning a higher risk of health issues or death. The recall is for bags with a best-by date of December 10th of last year. If you have frozen bags of this product in your freezer, you're told to throw it away immediately.
Turning to weather now, Monday was so beautiful, but like Indiana, it lasted one day and we're now colder and bracing for the rain.
Yeah, Carson, I know Groundhog Day was 2 days ago, and things have, I don't know if I believe Puxatawny Phil.
Yeah, I think I speak for everyone when I say that groundhog is for the birds, and I hope that a coyote eats him because we had a beautiful day yesterday, but now we are back down into the mid to high 40s, which isn't so bad considering that we were in the teens and 20s not too long ago, but currently in Indiana, we're all around the same temperature in the mid to high 40s. Right here in Bloomington, we are at 46 degrees at the moment. Now, tomorrow we're going to be looking at some pretty similar weather. Around 8 a.m., it's going to be about 33 degrees, 42 by noon, and by 4 p.m., it's going to top out at around 47 degrees. It's going to be sunny all day, though. And then in terms of Thursday, we are going to tick back up into some similar weather that we had on Monday. In Bloomington, it's going to be about 56 degrees, and then further south, about 55. Again, mid-50s across the state. 8 a.m. on Thursday, it's going to be about 32 degrees, partly cloudy, and then we might start to get some rain creeping in around noon, and then by 4 p.m. it's going to be fully rainy, about 44 degrees. And then as far as that 7-day forecast goes, on Tuesday it's going to be about 49 degrees at the high and a low of about 33. On Wednesday and Thursday we're going to get some rain. On Wednesday it's going to be pretty chilly, but on Thursday it's going to get to a high of about 56 with a low of 37. On Friday we're going to have some great weather, although it's only going to be about 42 degrees at the high and 30 degrees at the low. And then we're going to have a pretty gloomy weekend, raining on Saturday, but high of around 57 degrees, and then it's going to be pretty gloomy on Sunday and Monday as well.
That is the worst type of weather, when it's cold and rainy.
I know, I hate it when it fluctuates, like early in the morning 30 degrees and then 57 degrees by 4 p.m. Oh, hate it.
The worst.
Allie is standing by with a look at what we can expect in sports. Hey, Allie.
Hey guys, a bit to get into with sports this week. First, it was a heartbreaker in West Lafayette this weekend. IU men's basketball comes up just short of beating their top rival Purdue on the road. We have a recap of the game that came down to the very end. Plus, a major trade in the NBA has fans giving their strong reactions. We have the details of the trade and how former Hoosier is in the middle of that trade. That's all next in sports. Welcome back, Hoosier fans. I'm Allie Holm, and let's recap a weekend of sports. Indiana men's basketball came close to a season-defying victory against number 1 in Big Ten, Purdue, leading by 6 with just over 5 minutes remaining, but ultimately lost 81-76. Despite strong performances highlighted by Mackenzie Mbako's 25 points and key contributions from Trey Galloway, Indiana's 20 turnovers and 9 for 16 free throw shooting proved costly. Purdue's late surge and crucial missed jumper from Miles Rice sealed the Hoosiers' fate. With 5-6 in Big Ten record, Indiana remains on the NCAA tournament bubble and must find consistency in its final 9 games to salvage the season. On to the women's, Chloe Moore McNeil led the Hoosiers to a 76-60 win over Nebraska, scoring 15 points and dishing out 7 assists. She also played stellar defense, limiting Nebraska's Bright Prince and recording 4 steals. Junior guard Yarden Garza bounced back from a rough stretch, scoring 19 points on 5 3-pointers. Despite some inconsistencies from veterans like Sydney Parrish, the Hoosiers' strong team effort and solid defense helped them secure the victory. Indiana improves to 14-7 and 6-4 in Big Ten with a tough February stretch ahead. Now on to that major NBA news. Some Dallas Maverick fans are heartbroken after the team traded away its star guard Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. Fans wearing Doncic's number 77 jersey gathered outside the American Airlines Center on Sunday to show their unhappiness with the team's move. Some even carried caskets, while others carried signs denouncing the trade. One sign called it the worst trade in NBA history. The Mavericks also sent reserves Max Kilbler and Markieff Morris to the Lakers in exchange for Los Angeles sent the Mavs center Anthony Davis, shooting guard Max Christie, and first-round draft pick for the 2029 in the deal.
I mean, everybody was surprised, so you can imagine how surprised I was. I didn't really believe it at first, and it was a big shock. It was hard moments for me. It was home.
The Utah Jazz were involved in the trade. The Jazz received former IU star Jalen Hood-Schifino along with 2025 second-round picks from both Los Angeles and Dallas. And for the latest on all things IU sports, be sure to tune in each week to Hoosier Sports Night. You can catch it Thursday on IUSTV. And that's all for sports. Back to you at the desk.
Allie, thank you.
Let's get one last check of that 7-day forecast, because I just may need to keep my brother with me at all times at this point.
I know.
Yeah, I think you will. I think we're looking at some days of rain for the next week, unfortunately. Not getting any rain until Wednesday, when we're going to see a high of 40 and a low of 32. And then the rain is going to continue into Thursday with a high of 56, low of 37. So at least there's some good temperatures to make up for the rain. On Friday, we're going to get cloudy and some showers, but high of 42 and a low of 30. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be pretty gloomy. On Saturday, we're getting some rain with a high of 57, low of 34. On Sunday, no rain that we are seeing yet, but only a high of 39 and a low of 29. And then on Monday, it is going to be 38 degrees at the top and 25 at the bottom.
You don't really know what you're getting in February, do you?
You never do, especially not February in Indiana.
Yep, could not count on it. But thank you very much, Carson. And thank you for watching IUSTV News.
For updates between newscasts, check out IUSTV.com and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We're back here tomorrow night. See you then.